Sometimes the biggest moments in life come from the smallest decisions. For 16-year-old Marcus Thompson, it happened in just 45 seconds. That's how long it took him to spot the problem, grab the special drink, and rush it to LeBron James during a crucial Lakers game. 45 seconds to help the greatest basketball player in the world when no one else noticed something was wrong. 45 seconds to lose his dream job. But what Marcus didn't know, what nobody knew, was that his split-second choice would uncover a secret that would change not just his life, but the entire NBA. Sometimes getting fired isn't the end of the story. Sometimes it's just the beginning. Marcus Thompson's hands shook as he tied his new work apron. The bright purple uniform with the Lakers logo felt like a superhero cape. He couldn't believe he was actually going to work at the Crypto.com arena where his basketball heroes played every week. "You're going to do great, baby," his mom said, straightening his name tag. Dark circles lined her eyes from working the night shift at the hospital, but her smile was bright as ever. "Just remember, be polite, work hard, and always show up 15 minutes early," Marcus finished, grinning. He'd heard these words 1,000 times, but today they felt different. Today, they weren't just mom advice. They were the rules for keeping his dream job. At 16, Marcus was the youngest person to get hired at the arena this season. The thought made his stomach flutter with butterflies, but he pushed the nervousness down. This job meant everything. With Mom's nursing salary stretched thin and his little sister Sarah's asthma medicine getting more expensive every month, they needed the extra money. The bus ride to work felt like floating on a cloud. Marcus pressed his forehead against the window, watching the Los Angeles streets zoom past. He remembered all those times he'd watched Lakers games on their tiny TV, dreaming about what it would be like inside the arena. Now he'd get to be there for every home game. "You're early." "Good." Mr. Peterson, the concessions supervisor, checked his clipboard as Marcus walked in. He was a tall man with gray hair and glasses that sat on the tip of his nose. "First day jitters?" "No, sir," Marcus said quickly. Maybe too quickly, because Mr. Peterson's eyebrow went up. Mr. Peterson led him through the massive kitchen area. The smell of popcorn and hot dogs filled the air. "Let's go over the rules again. What's rule number 1? "Always wash hands before handling any food or drinks," Marcus recited. He'd studied the employee handbook 5 times last night. "Rule 2? Keep your station clean and organized at all times." And the most important rule? Marcus stood straighter. "Every customer gets the same treatment. No exceptions for anyone, even celebrities." "Especially celebrities," Mr. Peterson corrected. "We get Lakers players, movie stars, and millionaires in here. They're all just customers. No special treatment, no autographs, no pictures. Break that rule, and you're out. Understood?" "Yes, sir." The morning flew by in a blur of training. Marcus learned how to work the register, mix the special sports drinks, and keep the ice bins filled. His fellow workers were nice, especially Maria, who'd been running the snack counter for 5 years. She showed him all the shortcuts and secrets, like how to tell when the popcorn was perfectly done by sound alone. "You're catching on fast, kid," she said, showing him how to stack cups so they wouldn't fall. "Just wait until game night. That's when the real fun begins." During his lunch break, Marcus sat in the employee room eating the sandwich Mom had packed. He pulled out his phone and opened his sister's latest text. "Did you see LeBron yet? Take pictures." Marcus smiled and texted back, "Not allowed to take pics, remember? But I can see the court from my station." The afternoon shift brought more customers as people came for arena tours. Marcus served them all with a big smile, just like Mom did with her hospital patients. Each thank you and "Have a nice day" brought him closer to his first paycheck. He'd already decided half would go to Mom for bills, and he'd save the other half for Sarah's medicine. At closing time, Mr. Peterson checked Marcus's station. "Not bad, Thompson. Everything's clean. Money's counted correctly." He made some notes on his clipboard. "You follow instructions well. That's good. Too many young people these days think rules don't matter." "Thank you, sir." Marcus beamed with pride. "I won't let you down." The bus ride home felt different from the morning. His feet hurt from standing all day, and his arms were tired from lifting ice bags. But his heart felt light. He'd done it. First day complete. No mistakes. Mom was already home when he walked in, helping Sarah with homework at the kitchen table. The smell of chicken soup filled their small apartment. "There's my working man." Mom pulled him into a hug. "How was it?" Marcus collapsed into a chair, but he couldn't stop smiling. "Amazing. I learned everything about the concession stand. Mr. Peterson said I did a good job, and I can see the whole court from my station, and—" "Breathe, honey," Mom laughed, putting a bowl of soup in front of him. Sarah bounced in her seat. "Did you see any players? Was LeBron there? What about Anthony Davis?" "No players today, Squirt, but just wait until game night." Marcus slurped his soup, already imagining it. In just 3 days, the Lakers would play the Celtics. The arena would be packed. The energy would be incredible. Later that night, as Marcus got ready for bed, he heard Mom coughing in the kitchen. He peeked out and saw her at the table, surrounded by bills, her calculator clicking away. She looked tired, worried. Marcus closed his door quietly. Tomorrow, he'd get up early again. He'd work harder than anyone. He'd make Mom proud and help with those bills. This wasn't just a cool job at a basketball arena anymore. It was his chance to make things better for his family. As he drifted off to sleep, Marcus smiled. The Lakers logo on his new uniform hung neatly on his door, catching the moonlight. His dream job was just the beginning. He could feel it. Something big was coming. He just didn't know yet how big or how much his life would change in just a few days. 3 days flew by like a fast break down the court. When Marcus arrived for his first Lakers game night, the arena hummed with electricity. Fans in purple and gold jerseys streamed through the doors, and the smell of popcorn filled the air like never before. "Remember, tonight's going to be crazy." "Busy," Maria warned as she helped Marcus stock his station. "Just breathe and take it one customer at a time." Mr. Peterson was everywhere at once, checking stations and barking reminders. "Thompson, what's the celebrity rule?" "No special treatment, sir. Everyone's just a customer," Marcus replied automatically. He'd said it so many times now, it was like reciting his own name. The game against the Celtics wasn't just any regular season matchup. The Lakers needed this win to secure their playoff position. Marcus could feel the tension in the air as tip-off approached. His first rush of customers hit like a tidal wave. Marcus's fingers flew over the register buttons, scooped ice, and poured drinks. The training kicked in, and everything flowed. A woman in a LeBron jersey smiled when he remembered to add extra ice just like she asked. A little kid's eyes lit up when Marcus carefully placed his nachos so they wouldn't spill. During a quick breather, Marcus glanced at the court. The players were larger than life, their shoes squeaking on the shiny floor. LeBron James moved like he was floating, making impossible passes look easy. Marcus had watched hundreds of games on TV, but being here, feeling the roar of the crowd shake the walls, it was magic. "Focus, Thompson," Mr. Peterson's voice snapped him back. Less watching, more working. The game stayed close through 3 quarters. Every time the Lakers scored, the crowd erupted, and the concession lines grew longer with celebrating fans. Marcus's feet ached, but he didn't care. He was part of it all, part of the NBA dream. Then came the timeout that would change everything. Marcus was on his break, organizing the special drinks in the back fridge, when he heard the crowd gasp. He peeked out at the giant screen above the court. The cameras showed LeBron James looking shaky during the timeout. The greatest player in the world was pale, breathing hard, and something in his eyes didn't look right. Without thinking, Marcus grabbed one of the special electrolyte drinks he'd just sorted. These weren't the regular sports drinks they sold to customers. They were special order, kept separate for a reason. His heart pounded as he looked at the court, then at the drink. In his hand, Mr. Peterson's voice rang in his head, "No special treatment. Break that rule and you're out." But the bigger voice, the one that sounded like his mom's, whispered, "Sometimes doing the right thing means taking a risk." Marcus clutched the drink and ran. He ducked past the regular security checkpoint, his purple uniform letting him move through some barriers. But as he got closer to the Lakers bench, a large security guard stepped in his path. "Kid, you can't be here," the guard said firmly. "But Marcus held up the drink, trying to explain. The timeout was almost over. LeBron still looked wrong. That's when it happened. LeBron James himself looked over, saw Marcus with the drink, and waved him through. "Let him come," the superstar called out. The security guard stepped aside. Marcus rushed forward, hands shaking as he handed LeBron the drink. Their eyes met for a moment, and LeBron gave him a nod that said more than words could. The crowd, seeing the moment on the big screen, cheered. It looked like a heartwarming scene. A young worker helping their basketball hero. Some fans even took pictures with their phones. But as Marcus turned to head back to his station, his heart sank. There stood Mr. Peterson, arms crossed, face dark as a storm cloud. And Marcus knew his dream job had just ended. The rest of the game was a blur. The Lakers won on a last-second shot by LeBron, who looked completely recovered. The arena exploded in celebration, but Marcus barely noticed. He just kept working, trying to delay the moment he knew was coming. As the fans filed out and the cleanup began, Maria gave him a sad smile. She'd seen it all happen. "Mr. Peterson wants to see you first thing tomorrow morning," she said softly. "For what it's worth, kid, I think you did the right thing." Marcus nodded, his throat too tight to speak. On the bus ride home, he watched. The city lights blur through his tears. How would he tell Mom? What about Sarah's medicine? All because he broke the biggest rule. He didn't regret helping. He couldn't regret doing what felt right. But as he lay in bed that night, the moment played over and over in his mind. He had no idea that while he was dreading tomorrow's meeting with Mr. Peterson, something much bigger was already in motion. His simple act of kindness had set off a chain of events that would change not just his life, but the lives of everyone around him. Marcus arrived at the arena 30 minutes early the next morning, still wearing his purple Lakers uniform. The Percy building felt different now. Empty, quiet, almost scary. His footsteps echoed as he walked to Mr. Peterson's office. Mom had already been awake when he left, as if she knew something was wrong. "Whatever happens, I'm proud of you," she'd said, hugging him tight. "You've always had a good heart, just like your father did." Now, sitting in the hard plastic chair outside Mr. Peterson's office, Marcus wished he had that hug to hold on to. The door opened with a creak. "Come in, Thompson." Mr. Peterson sat behind his desk, looking tired. A copy of the employee handbook lay open in front of him. On his computer screen, Marcus could see a paused video. Him running to the Lakers, bench with the drink. "Do you know why you're here?" Mr. Peterson asked. Marcus sat up straight. If he was going down, he'd go down brave. Yes, sir. I broke the celebrity rule. I left my station without permission and went to the Lakers bench. Not just the bench. You went right up to LeBron James himself. Mr. Peterson took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. The video's all over social media. Lakers kid is trending. People are calling you a hero. Marcus stayed quiet. He didn't feel like a hero. But here's the thing about heroes, Thompson. They often break rules. And in this arena, rules keep people safe. Rules keep things fair. Mr. Peterson put his glasses back on. What if every worker decided to run up to the players? What if everyone thought their reason was special enough to break protocol? I understand, sir. Marcus's voice came out smaller than he wanted. I believe you do, and that makes this harder. Mr. Peterson picked up a paper from his desk. I have to let you go, Marcus. Effective immediately. Even though he'd expected it, the words hit like a punch to the stomach. Marcus blinked hard, fighting tears. Turn in your uniform before you leave. Security will walk you out. Mr. Peterson's voice softened slightly. For what it's worth, I wish things could be different. Marcus stood on shaky legs. As he reached for the door, Mr. Peterson spoke again. Thompson, sometimes life has a funny way of working out. Remember that. Outside the arena, Marcus changed into his regular clothes in the bathroom of a nearby coffee shop. His phone buzzed with messages. Sarah asking why he was home early. Maria saying how sorry she was. Even some news reporters wanting to talk about the video. He ignored them all and took the long way home, walking instead of taking the bus. The Lakers uniform, folded neatly in his backpack, felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Mom was waiting when he got home. One look at his face told her everything. Oh, baby. She wrapped him in a hug, and this time Marcus let the tears come. I'm sorry, Mom, he whispered. I know we needed that job, but LeBron, something wasn't right. I had to help. Listen to me. Mom held his face in her hands. Jobs come and go, but being the kind of person who helps others when they need it, that's worth more than any paycheck. Later that afternoon, while Mom was calling about extra nursing shifts, Marcus finally checked his phone. The video had millions of views. Some people said he should be hired back. Others defended the arena, saying rules were rules, but none of them knew the whole story. None of them saw how LeBron's hands had been shaking, how his eyes hadn't looked right. None of them knew about the special drinks in the back fridge, or why Marcus had chosen that specific one. As the sun set outside his window, Marcus wondered if he'd ever work in sports again. He wondered how they'd pay for Sarah's medicine next month. He wondered if he'd made the biggest mistake of his life or the best decision he'd ever made. He had no way of knowing that right at that moment, in another part of Los Angeles, people were making phone calls and sending emails that would turn his whole world upside down, all because of one drink, one decision, and one simple act of kindness. By morning, the video had exploded. Every sports channel was playing it on repeat. The young worker in purple rushing to help LeBron, the security guard stepping aside, the crowd cheering. But they were also talking about what happened after, how Marcus got fired for breaking the rules. Your phone's blowing up, Sarah said at breakfast, scrolling through her own social media. People want to interview you. Look, even ESPN shared the video. Mom turned off the TV where a sports anchor was debating whether the arena had been too harsh. Maybe we should unplug for a while, she suggested, seeing Marcus push his cereal around the bowl. Give things time to calm down. But the world didn't want to calm down. Justice for Marcus was trending #1 on Twitter. People were sharing their own stories of getting fired for trying to help others. Some former arena workers posted about how strict Mr. Peterson had always been with the rules. Marcus's phone kept buzzing with messages from reporters. "Can we get your side of the story? What made you decide to help LeBron? How do you feel about being fired?" He ignored them all. What could he say? That he'd seen something wrong in LeBron's eyes? That he'd picked that specific drink for a reason? He couldn't explain it without making things worse. "You should talk to someone," Maria texted him. "People are on your side. Even some of the Lakers players are posting about it." Sure enough, when Marcus checked, several Lakers had shared the video with messages supporting him. But LeBron James himself hadn't said anything publicly. Marcus wondered if the basketball star even remembered the moment, or if it had just been another timeout in another game to him. Sarah's friend Jenny came over after school, excited to have a famous connection. "My cousin's friend works at Nike," she told them. "He said everyone at the office was talking about you. They think the arena made a huge mistake." "Great," Marcus muttered. "Maybe they can help pay our bills." Mom overheard him and pulled him aside. "I know you're worried about money, baby, but we'll figure it out. We always do." But Marcus saw her later, making quiet phone calls about picking up extra weekend shifts. He heard her asking about payment plans for Sarah's medicine. The viral fame meant nothing if it couldn't help his family. That afternoon, a local news van parked outside their apartment building. Mom drew the curtains and ordered pizza so they wouldn't have to go out. They ate in the living room, trying to pretend everything was normal. "Look," Sarah suddenly pointed at her phone. "Someone started a GoFundMe for you." Marcus checked, and his stomach twisted. Someone had indeed created a fundraiser. Help the kid who helped LeBron. It already had thousands of dollars in donations. "No," he said firmly. "I don't want charity. I just want—" He stopped, not sure how to finish. A job? His old life back? For people to forget about him? Mom hugged him tight. "I know, baby. I know." That night, unable to sleep, Marcus scrolled through the comments on the video. Most people supported him, calling him brave and kind. But some defended the arena, saying rules existed for a reason. A few suggested the whole thing was staged for attention. None of them knew the truth. None of them had seen what Marcus saw in those crucial moments during the timeout. None of them knew why that particular drink had been so important. A new message popped up on his phone from an unknown number. Marcus almost ignored it, thinking it was another reporter. But something made him open it. "Thank you for caring. Enough to act." Not everyone would have noticed, and even fewer would have done something about it. "Stay ready. Good things are coming." The message was unsigned. Marcus read it over and over, wondering who it could be from. It felt different from the other messages, more personal, like someone who knew something he didn't. He fell asleep with his phone in his hand, the message still glowing on the screen. Tomorrow would bring more attention, more questions, more pressure. But somewhere in Los Angeles, wheels were turning, people were talking, and Marcus's life was about to change in ways he couldn't imagine. The real story hadn't even started yet. 2 weeks crawled by. The viral fame faded like old newspaper, left in the sun, but its shadow lingered. Marcus couldn't walk into a store without someone recognizing him as that Lakers kid. The GoFundMe page, which he'd never approved, had been taken down after he posted publicly asking people not to donate. Thompson, the manager at the grocery store, glanced at his job application, then back at Marcus. "Wait, aren't you the kid from the arena? The one who got fired?" "Yes, sir," Marcus admitted. "But I'm a hard worker and Sorry, kid. We can't risk it. You understand, right?" "What? If a celebrity shops here and you break protocol again?" It was the same story everywhere. The movie theater, the mall, even the local pizza place. As soon as they recognized him, the answer was no. His viral moment had become a curse. At home, things were getting worse. Sarah's asthma acted up in the changing weather, and her inhaler was running low. Mom worked double shifts at the hospital so often that Marcus barely saw her anymore. When she was home, she fell asleep on the couch, still in her nursing scrubs. The Lakers had another home game that night. Marcus watched it on their tiny TV, his old uniform stuffed in the back of his closet where he couldn't see it. The camera panned to his old concession stand, where someone else served drinks and popcorn to the fans. "You could have been there," a small voice in his head whispered. "If you'd just followed the rules." His phone buzzed. Another message from Maria. She'd been keeping him updated about work, trying to keep his spirits up. But this message was different. "You need to see this. LeBron just collapsed during practice. They're saying it might be related to that timeout in your game. Reporters are asking questions about what happened that night." Marcus's heart raced. He switched to the sports news channel, but they were only showing regular highlights. He searched online and found a few tweets about LeBron leaving practice early, but nothing about a collapse. Sarah wandered in, wheezing slightly. "Can we order pizza tonight? Mom left money." "Let's have soup instead," Marcus said, knowing they needed to save every dollar. "I'll make Mom's special recipe." While the soup simmered, Marcus checked his email for the 100th time that week. Every application he'd sent out sat unanswered. The viral video followed him everywhere, like a shadow he couldn't shake. The mysterious text from 2 weeks ago still haunted him. "Stay ready. Good things are coming." But nothing good had come. Just rejection after rejection. Bill after bill. That night, after Sarah went to bed, Marcus heard Mom crying in the kitchen. He found her at the table, surrounded by papers, bills, late notices, and Sarah's prescription that needed refilling. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "This is all my fault. If I hadn't lost that job..." Mom wiped her eyes quickly. "No, baby. Don't. You dare blame yourself. Sometimes doing the right thing comes with a price. Your father taught me that." She rarely talked about Dad. He'd been a firefighter, died saving a family from a burning building when Marcus was 7. Another person who'd broken protocol to help someone in need. "I just feel so useless," Marcus admitted, sitting down. "Everyone knows who I am, but nobody will hire me. And now Sarah's medicine." "We'll figure it out," Mom said, but her voice shook. "We always do." Later, lying in bed, Marcus pulled out his phone and finally did something he'd been avoiding. He opened the video of that night, turning the sound low so it wouldn't wake Sarah. He watched himself run to the Lakers bench, watched LeBron wave him through. But this time, he noticed something new. Just before Marcus handed over the drink, the camera caught LeBron's face clearly. The look in his eyes, Marcus hadn't imagined it. Something had been seriously wrong. The mysterious text message felt heavier now. Someone else had noticed too. Someone knew more than they were saying. His phone buzzed, making him jump. Unknown number. "Marcus Thompson?" The message read. "This is the Lakers HR department. We've been trying to reach you about an important matter. Please come to the office tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bring ID." Marcus stared at the message, his heart pounding. Was this another prank? Another reporter trying to get his story? Or a loud wheeze from Sarah's room broke his thoughts. He found her sitting up in bed, struggling with her inhaler. "It's empty," she gasped. Marcus helped her use the breathing, techniques the doctor had taught them, keeping his voice calm while his mind raced. They needed a new inhaler. They needed money. They needed a miracle. The Lakers' HR message glowed on his phone, promising, what? Another disappointment? Or maybe, just maybe, the change his mysterious texter had promised? I'll figure something out, he told Sarah, as she finally fell back asleep. I promise. Outside, the Los Angeles lights twinkled like stars, and somewhere in the city, people who knew the truth about that timeout were finally ready to talk. Marcus had no idea that tomorrow's meeting would unlock secrets bigger than basketball, bigger than broken rules, bigger than anything he could imagine. The real miracle was already in motion, set in place by that one simple act of kindness 2 weeks ago. And it all started with noticing something in LeBron James's eyes that nobody else had seen, or at least almost nobody. Marcus barely slept that night. The Lakers' HR message kept playing in his mind like a song stuck on repeat. Was it real? And if it was, what did they want with him? Mom took one look at his face in the morning and called the hospital. I'm taking a personal day, she told her supervisor. Family emergency. Mom! No! Marcus protested. You need those hours. You're not going to that meeting alone, she said firmly. Then, softer. Besides, I have a feeling about this one. Sometimes life's biggest blessings come disguised as setbacks. Sarah wanted to come too, but her wheezing was worse this morning. Mrs. Rodriguez from next door agreed to watch her, sharing worried looks with Mom when she saw Sarah's empty inhaler. Baptiste. Bus ride to the Lakers facility felt endless. Marcus wore his best clothes, a button-up shirt Dad had worn to church, ironed crisp despite its age. Mom held his hand like she had when he was little, neither of them talking about their empty bank account or Sarah's medicine. The Lakers' practice facility was huge, all glass and steel gleaming in the morning sun. At the front desk, a securities guard checked their IDs and made a call. Thompson party is here. Marcus's legs felt like jelly as they followed a woman in a business suit down long hallways lined with Lakers history. Past players looked down from framed photos, their eyes seeming to follow them. Please, wait here, the woman said, showing them to a conference room. Would you like water? They both nodded, too nervous to speak. Through the glass walls, Marcus could see people hurrying past, carrying papers and talking in low voices. One man stopped to peer in, then rushed away, whispering into his phone. Whatever happens, Mom squeezed his hand. I'm proud of you. Remember that. The door opened. A man in an expensive suit walked in, followed by a woman carrying a laptop. Marcus. Thompson? I'm David Chen, Lakers head of human resources. This is Lisa Martinez, our legal counsel. Marcus's heart sank. Legal counsel? Were they going to sue him for breaking protocol? Thank you for coming, Mr. Chen said, sitting down. We've been trying to reach you through various channels. The VTD mysterious text message, Marcus realized. That had been them testing the waters. First, Ms. Martinez opened her laptop. We need you to sign this non-disclosure agreement. What we're about to discuss cannot leave this room. Mom straightened in her chair. My son is a minor. I'll need to review any documents first. Of course, Mr. Chen smiled. We expected nothing less. While Mom read through the papers with Ms. Martinez, Mr. Chen turned to Marcus. That was quite something you did during the timeout. Not many people would have noticed what you noticed. Marcus swallowed hard. Is LeBron okay? I heard about practice yesterday. You've been paying attention. Mr. Chen nodded. Good. That's actually part of why we're here. Mom finished reading and signed the papers. Marcus signed where? They pointed, his hand shaking slightly. "Now then," Mr. Chen leaned forward. "Tell me exactly what you saw that made you choose that specific drink that night." Marcus glanced at Mom, who nodded encouragingly. "His hands were shaking," he said slowly. "Not like regular tired shaking. I'd seen that look before, in the hospital when Mom took me to work once, and his eyes, they weren't focusing right. And you knew which drink to bring because the special drinks in the back fridge, they're labeled differently. I memorized what each one was for during training, even though Mr. Peterson said we'd never handle them. The blue one with the silver cap. It's not just for energy, is it?" Mr. Chen and Ms. Martinez exchanged looks. "No," Mr. Chen said finally. "It's not. And the fact that you noticed that you acted on it, well, that's why we're here." Hidaichu pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. "We'd like to make you an offer, Marcus. One that could change everything." Marcus reached for the envelope, his heart pounding. But before he could open it, the door burst open. "Sorry I'm late," said a familiar voice. "Traffic was crazy." Marcus turned, and his jaw dropped. Standing in the doorway, dressed in Lakers warm-up gear, was LeBron James himself. "Hey, kid," LeBron smiled. "We need to talk." Marcus couldn't move, couldn't speak. LeBron James, the ITG, real LeBron James, was walking toward him, hand extended. The greatest basketball player in the world wanted to shake his hand. "Breathe, kid," LeBron laughed, sitting down next to him. "You look like you're about to pass out." Marcus looked at Mom for help. She seemed just as shocked. First, LeBron turned serious. "I want to apologize for not speaking up sooner. There were medical privacy issues we had to work through. But letting you take the fall for helping me? That wasn't right." Mr. Chen cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should explain from the beginning." LeBron nodded. "You see, Marcus, I have a condition. Not many people know about it. We keep it private, to avoid opponents using it against me. Sometimes my blood sugar drops suddenly during games. That's what was happening during that timeout." "The drink," Marcus said softly. "The blue one with the silver cap. It has glucose in it." "Smart kid," LeBron smiled. "Most people wouldn't have noticed anything wrong. Even some of my teammates didn't catch it. But you did, and you knew exactly which drink would help." Mom reached for Marcus's hand under the table. He could feel her trembling slightly. "I've been trying to find you since that night," LeBron continued. "But with all the social media chaos and reporters, we had to wait for things to calm down. Then, yesterday, at practice..." He paused. "The EQ collapse," Marcus remembered. "That's what Maria texted me about." "Almost collapsed," LeBron corrected. "But this time, we didn't have someone like you around. That's when I told the team we couldn't wait any longer. We needed to make this right." Ms. Martinez opened a new folder. "We'd like to offer Marcus a position with the Lakers organization." Mom sat up straighter. "What kind of position?" "A new one," Mr. Chen said. "We're creating a junior sports medicine internship program. Full training, mentorship from our medical team, and..." He glanced at LeBron. "And a full college scholarship to study sports medicine when you graduate," LeBron finished. "If you want it." Marcus's head spun. Was this real? Was he dreaming? "There's more." LeBron pulled out his phone. "I made some calls. Sarah's asthma medicine? It's being taken care of. I have a foundation that helps kids with medical needs. She's covered." Mom's hand tightened on Marcus's. He heard her quick intake of breath. "Why?" Marcus finally found his voice. "Why all this?" "Because you reminded me of someone." LeBron's voice softened. When I was young, before all this, he gestured at his Lakers gear. Someone helped me when they didn't have to. Changed my whole life. Sometimes that's all. It takes one person caring enough to act. But Mr. Peterson, Marcus started, is the one who recommended you for this position. Mr. Chen smiled. What? Marcus couldn't believe it. He came to us right after that night, Ms. Martinez explained. Said he had to fire you for breaking protocol, but we should watch you. Said you had the right instincts, caring about people more than rules. The real reason for those protocols, Mr. Chen added, isn't about celebrities. It's about medical privacy. We couldn't tell the public why that drink was so important, but you figured it out on your own. LeBron leaned forward. So, what do you say, kid? Ready to turn that one moment of kindness into a career? Marcus looked at Mom. Tears shone in her eyes, but she was smiling. Before you answer, Ms. Martinez said, you should know this is a serious commitment. You'll train after school and weekends. You'll learn about sports medicine, emergency response, player health management. It's not just getting to hang around NBA players. Good, Marcus said firmly. I want to learn everything. LeBron grinned. That's what I was hoping you'd say. He stood up. Come on, I'll show you around. Your mom, too. I hear she's a nurse. Our medical team would love to talk with her. As they walked through the Lakers facility, past the training rooms and medical offices that could become his future workplace, Marcus felt like he was floating. Sarah would get her medicine, Mom wouldn't have to work double shifts, and he would learn how to help people, really help them, not just serve drinks. One more thing, LeBron said as they reached the court. That night, during the timeout, the security camera caught something interesting. He pulled out his phone again, played a video. It showed Marcus at his concession stand before the timeout. In the background, LeBron was already showing subtle signs. Signs only someone with medical knowledge would notice. The camera zoomed in on Marcus's face, showing the exact moment he spotted the problem. You didn't just grab any drink, LeBron said. You were watching, thinking, planning. That's what we need. People who pay attention, who care enough to act, even when it might cost them everything. Marcus stared at the huge, empty arena around them. 2 weeks ago, he'd thought his dream was over. Now he realized it had only been the beginning. But he had no idea that the biggest test of his new role was just around the corner, something that would challenge everything he'd learned and prove once and for all whether he had what it took to be part of the Lakers family. The next week passed in a blur. Marcus started his training right away, spending his afternoons learning from the Lakers medical team. They taught him about athlete nutrition, emergency response, and how to spot early warning signs of various conditions. Every day brought new knowledge, new responsibilities, and new chances to prove himself. Sarah's new inhaler arrived the very next day after the meeting. Mom cried when she saw it, along with a year's supply of medicine. LeBron had kept his word about everything, but it wasn't all easy. Some of the other staff members whispered when Marcus walked by. That's the drink, kid, they'd say, got fired and failed upward. He tried to ignore them, focusing instead on learning everything he could. Dr. Rodriguez, the head of sports medicine, became his main mentor. She was tough but fair, just like Mr. Peterson had been. Medicine isn't about following rules blindly, she told Marcus. It's about understanding why the rules exist and knowing when breaking them might save someone's life. On Friday afternoon, Marcus was organizing the medical supplies, including those special drinks, when he overheard two trainers talking outside the door. LeBron's numbers were off in practice today. One said quietly. Doc wants extra monitoring during tomorrow's game. Should we tell the kid? The other asked. He's supposed to be shadowing the bench tomorrow. Let's see if he notices on his own. That's why he's here, right? Marcus's heart pounded. Tomorrow would be his first game on the bench, not serving drinks, but watching for medical issues. His first real test. That night, he could barely sleep. Mom found him at the kitchen table at midnight, studying the medical textbooks Dr. Rodriguez had given him. "Baby, you need rest," she said, making him her special chamomile tea. "You can't help anyone if you're exhausted." "I can't mess this up." "Mom," Marcus said, "this chance, it's everything we needed. What if I miss something? What if I'm not good enough?" Mom sat down beside him. "You know what I see when I look at you? I see your father's heart and my stubbornness. That's a powerful combination." She smiled. "You got this job because you noticed what others missed. Trust those instincts." The next day, Marcus arrived at the arena 3 hours early. He checked and double-checked every medical supply. Dr. Rodriguez watched him with an approving nod. "Ready for your first game on this side of the court?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," Marcus said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. The game started. Normally, Marcus sat between Dr. Rodriguez and the team trainers, watching everything. He kept special attention on LeBron, noting every movement, every sign, but halfway through the second quarter, something caught his eye. Not with LeBron, with Anthony Davis. The star forward was moving differently, touching his side after each jump. Marcus glanced at Dr. Rodriguez, but she was checking LeBron's latest readings. The trainers were focused on other players. No one else seemed to notice. Should he speak up? What if he was wrong? The whispers of "drink, kid" echoed in his head. Then he remembered what Dr. Rodriguez had said about understanding why rules exist, and what Mom said about trusting his instincts. "Dr. Rodriguez," he said quietly, "I think AD's right. Oblique is cramping. He's favoring his left side on landings, and his breathing pattern changed after that last rebound." The doctor looked up sharply. She watched Davis for a moment, then grabbed her phone. Within seconds, the trainers were alerted. During the next time out, they checked Davis and found exactly what Marcus had spotted. "Quick catch," Dr. Rodriguez said as Davis received treatment. Another quarter, and it could have been a serious strain. Marcus felt a wave of relief. He'd been right. He'd helped. But his real test was still to come. As the fourth quarter began, Marcus noticed something else, something that would force him to make the hardest decision of his life. LeBron's latest readings were normal. His movement was perfect. But Marcus saw something in his eyes. The same look from that night 2 weeks ago. No one else seemed to notice. Even Dr. Rodriguez was focused on Davis now. Marcus had 15 seconds to decide. Question the greatest player in basketball? Potentially embarrass himself and disrupt the game? Or stay quiet and risk something worse? This time, he didn't hesitate. "Code Blue," he said firmly, the signal they'd trained him to use for blood sugar emergencies. Everything happened at once. Dr. Rodriguez sprang into action. The trainers moved with practiced speed, and Marcus found himself face-to-face with LeBron James for the second time in his life, holding another blue drink with a silver cap. But this time was different. This time, he wasn't breaking rules. He was following his training. This time, he wasn't just a kid with good instincts. He was part of the team. LeBron took the drink, and their eyes met. In that moment, Marcus saw something he'd never forget. Respect. Not just from LeBron, but from Dr. Rodriguez, the trainers, and everyone else on the bench. He'd passed his test. But more than that, he'd found his calling. This wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about being there when people needed help, about noticing what others missed. As the game went on, Marcus sat a little straighter on the bench. The whispers behind his back had stopped. He wasn't the drink kid anymore. He was finally exactly where he was meant to be, or so he thought. Because in the final minutes of the game, something would happen that would reveal the full truth about that first night. A truth that would change not just Marcus's life, but the entire NBA. With just 2 minutes left in the game, the Lakers led by 3 points. The crowd was on their feet, the noise deafening. But Marcus wasn't watching the score. His eyes were locked on the players, scanning for any signs of trouble. That's when he saw it. Not with LeBron this time, but with a player on the other team. Their star guard was showing the exact same symptoms he'd spotted in LeBron 2 weeks ago. Dr. Rodriguez was already moving. "Marcus, with me," she commanded. They rushed to alert the other team's medical staff. And that's when everything clicked into place. The opposing team's doctor pulled out a familiar blue drink with a silver cap, the exact same kind Marcus had brought to LeBron. As they treated their player, Marcus overheard the doctor talking to Dr. Rodriguez. "It's happening more often lately," the doctor said. 3 players this month alone. The league needs to know." "Know what?" Marcus asked before he could stop himself. The adults exchanged looks. Then Dr. Rodriguez nodded. "He's part of this now. He should know." They pulled Marcus aside as the game resumed. What they told him made his jaw drop. It wasn't just LeBron. Across the NBA, more and more players were experiencing sudden blood sugar drops during games. The league had kept it quiet, treating each case as an individual issue. But a pattern was emerging. "Remember those new energy supplements the league approved last season?" Dr. Rodriguez asked. "We're finding they can interact with players' blood sugar levels in unexpected ways. But it's hard to predict who will be affected or when. That's why the blue drinks are so important," Marcus realized. "They're not just for emergencies. They're monitoring which players need help." "Exactly," the other team's doctor nodded. "But we can't watch everyone all the time. We need more people with your kind of instincts, Marcus. People who can spot the signs before they become emergencies." The game clock wound down. The Lakers won by 5 points, but Marcus barely noticed. His mind was racing with what he'd just learned. After the game, LeBron called him into a private meeting. Mr. Chen and Dr. Rodriguez were there, along with some people Marcus didn't recognize, executives from the NBA league office. "Tell them what you told me about the signs you noticed," LeBron said. "About how you knew something was wrong." So Marcus explained. He described the subtle changes in players' movements, the look in their eyes, the tiny signs that most people missed. The executives took notes and asked questions. "This is bigger than just one team now," LeBron said when Marcus finished. "The league is creating a new player safety program. Every team will have someone specifically watching for these symptoms, and they want you to help train them." Marcus blinked. "Me? But I'm just the kid who spotted something that trained professionals missed?" Dr. Rodriguez smiled. "Just the one who cared enough to act, even when it cost him his job? That's exactly who we need." Mr. Chen pulled out a new contract. "This goes beyond your Lakers internship. The NBA wants to hire you as a consultant for their new program. You'll help write the training materials, sharing what you look for and how you spot potential issues." Marcus stared at the contract. His hands trembled as he read it. "There's more," LeBron added. "Remember how I said someone helped me when I was young? This is my chance to pay that forward. My foundation isn't just covering Sarah's medicine anymore. We're creating a full scholarship program for kids who want to work in sports medicine, and you're going to help choose the recipients." Tears filled Marcus's eyes. He thought about that night 2 weeks ago, how scared he'd been to break the rules. He thought about all the other kids out there who might have the same instincts he did, who just needed a chance to prove themselves. "The truth is, Marcus," Dr. Rodriguez said softly, "you didn't just save one player that night. You helped us uncover a problem that could have hurt many more. Your instincts, your courage to act, that's going to help protect players across the entire league. So, what do you say, kid?" LeBron held out a pen. "Ready to change the game?" Marcus looked at the contract again. Then he thought about what Mom always said about life's biggest blessings coming disguised as setbacks. She'd been right all along. He took the pen and signed. Later that night, Marcus sat in their small kitchen telling Mom and Sarah everything: the NBA program, the scholarship foundation, all of it. "I always knew you were special." Mom hugged him tight. "Just like your father, seeing what needs to be done and doing it, no matter what." Sarah bounced in her chair. "My brother's going to be famous," Marcus laughed. "Not famous, Squirt. Just doing what's right." But as he looked around their kitchen, he realized how much had changed in just 2 weeks. From losing his job to helping create an NBA safety program. From worrying about bills to planning a future in sports medicine. All because he'd noticed something in LeBron James's eyes that night. All because he'd chosen to help, even when it meant breaking the rules. Sometimes the biggest moments in life don't look big when they're happening. Sometimes they look like a kid in a purple uniform running across a basketball court with a special drink in his hand, not knowing he's about to change everything. And sometimes the real victory isn't measured in points on a scoreboard, but in the lives you touch along the way. That's what Marcus learned from his father, from his mother, from LeBron James, and most importantly, from listening to his own heart. That's the lesson he'd teach others through the NBA program. That's the story he'd tell every scholarship recipient. Thank you all for joining me for Marcus's incredible journey, from a simple act of kindness to changing the NBA forever. I'd love to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you enjoyed this emotional story about how one small decision can change everything, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with someone who needs a reminder that doing the right thing matters. Remember, sometimes the biggest blessings in life come disguised as setbacks. Just like Marcus learned at the Lakers arena, you never know when one moment of kindness might change your whole world. See you in the next story.